Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the 3-Man Week College Basketball Show, presented by SportsBookReview.com. I'm Matt. That's Ky. That's Jim. Get pointed the wrong direction. You get the idea, though. Yes. We're all interchangeable. We all look alike, as we've been told before. So call us the 3-Man clones. Jim and Ky, we have Semifinal Friday today. We basically honed in focus on the outlines of most of the semifinal matchups in these conference tournaments, with the exception of the Big Ten, which will kick us off here in a second. We'll also hit all the other mid-low major conferences in the chat mob inquiry sections per usual. But first, as always, what we learned about last night. Ky, I'm going to you here first. Tell the folks what your takeaways were.
Short and sweet, Matthew. We get to say goodbye to Kentucky officially. Great season, Cats. You're 9-16 this year. You got to feel bad, Jim, for John Calipari. The guy just can't catch a break. He has such trouble recruiting to that school. Maybe someday he'll get a win. But tough break for the old Wildcats. Oh, well. Life goes on, Jim.
Yeah, Olivier Sarr was not the savior that some seem to think he was when he committed out of the transfer portal. That's a bummer. But look, we just had a lot of really good games yesterday. I thoroughly enjoyed the ball. Especially that morning slate with the first set of games. We had some overtimes. We had a buzzer beater in Virginia-Syracuse. What a wild day. Really excited to do it again. Unfortunately, Virginia will not be participating. As mentioned in the chat, they are out after a positive COVID test. Not sure what the long-term implications of that will be, whether they'll get to play in the NCAA tournament or not. But, man, that is the concern we're running into at this point. If you have COVID issues, you're going to back up against the NCAA's policies right now.
Yeah, and they are strict, no question. Even the conference level, they're very strict, and obviously for the tournament, ramping up here shortly, ultra high bar to clear there. My takeaway is more from an odds maker perspective, more of a handicapping trend that I'm noticing in wake of what we saw last week, kind of, Jim, in the opening rounds here. It basically any team that was coming off a back-to-back, you could pretty much bet on the fact that the early markets would hammer the favorites with the rest advantage. However, if you look at the opening numbers today, and you'll see this theme reiterated throughout the Power 6 sections, the odds makers, I think, have adjusted. There really has been a ton of steam there on those favorites with the rest edge. However, in some of the low mid-major conferences with multi-days of rest where teams have played back-to-back and now are playing a third game, there is some early money coming in there. So just tread lightly. I think I said last time, if you want to get out in front of that and beat closing line value, you're probably smart to hop in on those favorites. However, it looks like the odds makers are adjusting for that. So look out for those landmines. Before we continue, as always, the fine folks at SPR make this all possible. SPRpicks.com/NCAAB. It's provided so conveniently above us right here at the top. Please go to that link, check out all the great content there. And more importantly, in my opinion, the SPRoddspage.com. Have that open, hit the refresh button on repeat throughout the show, and hold us accountable when me and Jim do not properly read the numbers, as we had a few mess ups yesterday. But no harm, no foul. Michigan State lost by 1 million. Didn't really matter. And Georgetown made the discrepancy irrelevant there as well. So
outright, baby.
Outright wins are always fun as underdog backers. Okay, to the outline we go. Big Ten quarterfinals. The outline should say quarterfinals. That was my mistake. I was getting too excited for the Final Four showdown here in this conference, which has been a gauntlet all season. We're going to basically pick out our favorite game within these sections. Today we're going to focus on Ohio State-Purdue to start us off here. I think we saw some early money come in here on Ohio State after the initial opener was Purdue as a short favorites. Purdue's been a rocket ship all season. We've talked at length about how much we love this young freshman sophomore nucleus, Jim, to pair with Trayvon Williams inside. However, I do think this has gotten a little bit, I think the early opener is a little bit too respectful towards the Boilers. I think Ohio State should at least be a 2-point favorite here. What do you think?
Well, I kind of lean towards Purdue just from a matchup perspective. They did sweep this season series. However, E.J. Liddell did not play in the first game. C.J. Walker did not play in the second. So Ohio State was shorthanded. But nobody posts up more in power conference basketball than Purdue. And Ohio State's interior defense is a little soft. It's been soft all year. Kyle Young and E.J. Liddell, not a ton of size in there. So Trayvon Williams and Zach Edey can really eat. That's a good way to get points and force double teams. Get them in rotation. Purdue can start to hit shots that way. On the other end, you've got to put those big guys in pick and roll, get them defending in space. That's something E.J. Liddell has done fantastically of late, started to hit shots from the perimeter. I don't think it should be down quite where it is, Matt, but I only made it 2 as well. So it's not like I'm emphatically thinking Ohio State should be a big favorite. I lean towards Purdue, just with no numeric edge and a little bit of a a matchup lean, but nothing official here. Ky, what about you?
Yeah, small spread was my first kind of gut reaction to this, but Purdue has really been awesome lately. Soaring up analytical rankings, they're soaring up seed rankings. They're banging on the door of a 3 seed right now in the NCAA tournament, believe it or not. 5 straight wins, 12th now in KenPom. They also beat Ohio State twice this year. Jim, I agree with your EJ Liddell take. I think he is a matchup nightmare or challenge for Purdue, especially this ability to step out. Ohio State clearly missed him in game 1 against Purdue.
Yeah.
They missed TJ Walker in game 2 against Purdue, Matt. So now you have a fully healthy Ohio State team, but they're kind of struggling lately. 4 straight losses going into that Minnesota game. Marcus Carr almost beat them last round. So if you want to go with the hotter team, you take Purdue. Number-wise, I kind of lean towards Ohio State. I think overall I'm leaning Purdue, though, Matt. I think I'm going with the hotter team here, the team that's looking better right now.
I like that. And you ride the hot team in conference tournaments. I think that's, I don't have the data to back it up, but anecdotally, it feels like that's a smart play. And but as Jim mentioned, I think the early market money sharpened this out, so no official play for me. Moving right along, Big East semifinal showdown. We want to highlight Creighton versus UConn. The Blue Jays went nuclear yesterday, but so did the Huskies. Granted, Ky, they were playing the DePaul Blue Demons, whose season has been a nightmare from hell of epic proportions. So hard to glean too much from that, but you just stretch out that time frame the last few weeks. This team's been on fire. Are you sticking with the Huskies, or do you think there's values on the Jays?
Yeah, I mean, Creighton looked just fine, right, against Butler. Everyone thought the controversy might hurt them, but it's Butler, Matthew. It's not a good team, we'll say, in the Big East. They won by 31, beat the Dogs by 20 in the game before. Yeah, UConn's everyone's pick to win the Big East this year in this conference tournament. I was one of those people that picked UConn. I mean, you saw them murder DePaul. They're playing fantastic. They did lose to Creighton twice this year, but Bouknight was out for game 2. Tyler Polley out for game 1. I do think the Huskies get it done tonight. A huge size advantage, Jim. Main matchup angle. And then Bouknight, too. I think he's just a guy you can ride in conference tournaments, even March Madness, NCAA tournament style.
Yeah, the first meeting way back in December, UConn also had a COVID shutdown, and they still took it to overtime. Yeah. So it was an impressive showing from them there. I was impressed by Creighton, though. I think we had a lot of questions about what the locker room was like, what the chemistry would be like. They did not look like a team that was upset with their coach, not at all. They came out firing. Definitely a size disadvantage inside, and UConn's interior defense is one of the best in the entire country. They're so physical. But if Creighton can hit a couple shots early, loosen them up a little bit, they've got perimeter shooters, that really starts to affect UConn's defense. They have to extend a little more. That certainly helps. Creighton's defense also has been a little better than we anticipated this year. I'm leaning a little bit towards Creighton here, actually. Yeah, I mean, this game's basically a pick. I think they're the better team. And yeah, as Chat just mentioned too, Bouknight is questionable. I think he'll play, but he left the game with cramps last night. Yeah, it basically got carried down the hallway. It looked bad. I would imagine he'll be fine. He'll be hammering fluids and bananas and all that kind of stuff tonight, leading up to it. But I'm leaning towards Creighton here, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you, Jim, our dietitian expert on this show. That's one of his many hats that he wears. Jim, I'm going to make an official show play. I think the Bouknight thing, I was sort of waiting to hear on the news, but even if he plays, there's a chance he may be on a minutes restriction. He may not be 100%. I mean, UConn's solidified their spot in the tournament. So I don't think there's any reason to risk his status. He's so important to what they do, especially on offense. I made this game -3. I think Creighton has sort of put those off the court distractions aside based on yesterday's performance. I trust the Jays. I'm going to take him here -1 as an official show play.
And boy, go get him, Jays.
Down, boom, underline. Next up, ACC Semifinal. Well, only one to choose from here, folks. Breaking news this morning, the Virginia Cavaliers have caught the COVID. They will not be playing today, thus thrusting Georgia Tech into the final. On the opposite side of the bracket, those will refocus our discussion today. Jim, I'm starting with you. Florida State, North Carolina. I watched a lot of this North Carolina game yesterday. I was really underwhelmed with the Tar Heels defense in the first half against Virginia Tech, a team that was off a COVID shutdown, but they hit the gas pedal second half. The guards played a lot better. We've talked about the emergence of their big, specifically Walker Kessler. But again, the guard plays that really impressed me. I think we're starting to see some balance from this Tar Heel squad.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they need. They need the guards to play well. Kessler, you mentioned, he's the one who really emerged in that Florida State win. The second half, they just basically came back and dominated. Kessler was 9 for 10 from the field, had 20 points in that game. If he continues to play that well, then UNC actually matches up quite well with Florida State. They've got the size, they've got the athleticism. to combat what Florida State wants to do in the paint. Ky, I'm curious if there's anything here for you in terms of the old rest versus rust debate. UNC playing their third game in as many days, whereas Florida State has not had to play because of the Duke COVID issues yesterday. What do you think here?
Yeah, I tend to put less stock in that now. I put some stock in it to begin with, but I'm kind of realizing, I mean, these are 18-year-old, 21-year-old kids. They're not getting tired. Peak physical condition, back-to-back games. Their motivation is huge right now. So I don't think it comes into play as much. So I guess, Jim, the rust factor might come a little bit more, but they're staying ready. I'm sure Florida State's ready for this game. Split the season series. That second game was particularly gross. Teams combined for 38 offensive rebounds and 38 turnovers. Hopefully we see a better game this time. I still think Florida State, Matt, can eat UNC's backcourt alive just defensively. I don't see UNC's backcourt having a prayer, but UNC's front court is one of the unique teams that can actually match up with Florida State's size and give them problems. So at +3, I do lean towards UNC.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a similar comp to this, and it dawned on me that we saw this happen with Drake in Northern Iowa and Missouri Valley Conference, right? That it was supposed to be a back-to-back setting. Drake got the automatic pass because of Northern Iowa's COVID issues. And I believe Drake played well in that follow-up game. It's a different type of dynamic because they were a larger dog going against Loyola. But still, I think you see that type of potential rest advantage maybe play in Florida State's factor. I did make this number lower, though, so I can't make it an official play. I've just had a lot of respect, or I've had North Carolina probably overrated most of the season. So I have to, and I think they're starting to play to that level now, Ky. So I have to respect that number. All right, next up, we have Big 12 semifinal. Again, a pair of matchups here. We're going to talk about Kansas versus Texas. I think Ochai Agbaji is still steaming from his outburst second half yesterday against Oklahoma. Sooners kept making multiple runs to close the margin, but every time they got it within a possession or two, there was Agbaji knocking it down from 35 with seemingly two hands in his face. On the other side, Jim, we were pretty prophetic in our takes that Texas was probably disrespected in opening as a dog against Texas Tech, as much as we love Chris Beard. What are you making in this matchup here today?
Yeah, that Texas Tech game rocked yesterday. It was a game of runs. Texas Tech got up 8 and then 14-0 run before halftime by Texas. And then Texas Tech a run out of halftime. Really impressive by the Longhorns to stand up to that, end of the game on a 6-0 run to win by 1. Here, yesterday we talked about McCormick being out. It didn't hurt them as much against Oklahoma because OU doesn't have a ton of front court size. They're not somebody that's going to pound the ball inside. I mean, as long as the Texas guards bother to give the ball to Jericho Sims and Kai Jones today, I think that should be a huge advantage for Texas. It's just, again, it's a matter of whether Coleman and Ramey are interested in throwing the ball inside or if they think it's a one-on-one showdown on the perimeter. But also, I think it's huge that Texas has multiple ball handlers because Marcus Garrett, we saw how disruptive he can be on the ball yesterday. Yeah. He made Austin Reed's life miserable. So Texas needs to be able to avoid him when attacking from the perimeter. I actually, just matchup wise and athletically lean towards Texas, but it's the coaching thing again. Yesterday, I that's what spooked me on Texas was versus Texas Tech, and that one ended up basically too close to call. So I'm staying away here again, Ky.
Yeah, KU obviously had no trouble with Oklahoma yesterday, despite the late Sooner run. The McCormick absence was barely felt. Lightfoot played well. The small ball lineups were awesome for Kansas. I just don't think they can do that against Texas with the same degree of success. Texas bigger, more athletic than Oklahoma. They're not going to find the same. The recipe's not going to yield the same results, Matt. We'll put it that way. Texas did sweep Kansas this year. First game was a blowout, 25 points. It was nowhere close. Game 2, Texas won despite shooting 19% from 3. I just think Texas is a very tough matchup for Kansas. I'm surprised this game is just pick, especially with McCormick out. I guess now -1 towards Texas. I lean towards Texas despite my concerns about the erratic guard play we've talked about before.
Hard lean toward Kansas. I made it KU -2, okay. but I think
without McCormick,
without McCormick, yeah, I do think the matchup concerns that you guys mentioned are valid. It's almost like Texas doesn't play their most efficient and intelligent way unless they're forced to. And as Jim mentioned, I think they will sort of run into the brick wall on the perimeter against Garrett and company and have to throw it inside and thus play more efficiently offensively because that is really where I think their bread is buttered. Also, Ben Sports' best bet of the day is KU, it sounds like. So you have to follow Nostradamus there. That's a lock. So 2 check marks in the camp of KU backers.
Oh, what a joke.
And what a fitting time to pivot to chat mob inquiries. Chat mob czar, is it a co-czar or is it, who took the mantle today?
I hope
Jim did.
Take it down, Jimbo.
All right, Aiden Scott wants to know about in the American Memphis and Central Florida. Memphis obviously looking to be a big bid stealer here, guys. Go on a run, maybe knock off Houston in the semis. Either of you have any leanings in this game?
I still think Memphis is going to win. I still think Memphis is going to win this tournament. Just a gut feel plus 500 or so. You could get them pre-conference tournament here. I don't know if they're going to cover 7 points because we've talked about Memphis as a semi-large favorite not being great, and UCF can certainly play them tough with their athleticism and their defense. Matthew.
Yeah, lean Memphis. I just think with Fuller and Mahan shooting the ball well for UCF, they're two guys that can carry you to a backdoor. So I don't think Memphis is a team I want to trust with a large lead at all.
Yep, fair. The other Big East semi, guys, Harry R. wants to know, Seton Hall, Georgetown. Obviously, Seton Hall looking to, they don't get the Q1 win here, or the potential Q1 with no Villanova, but if they win the Big East tournament, that obviously locks them up. Georgetown, a potential bid stealer here, still alive, playing pretty well right now. Ky, anything for you out at Madison Square Garden here?
I weirdly think Georgetown is my lean. I really hope Seton Hall wins. I want to see the Pirates in the tournament, but Georgetown's been playing great lately. That win over Villanova, even without Gillespie, impressed me. So I do kind of lean towards the dog. My number made it about right where it is, though.
Seton Hall, official show play for me. I'll just spoil it right now. I have it minus 5.5. I see it currently painted at 3 at most books. 3.5. Can I get 3? If I get 3, I will take it as a show play. I want to avoid the hook though if possible. So I will have action on both Big East matchups today. I think Hall's just
I think
a class.
3 is fair.
Okay, Hall, classic. Quintessential struggle down the stretch. They're better than how they played the last 2 weeks. Willard talked about it. It's like, hey, we just needed to kind of get that monkey off our back. I think they start to ride and play better now.
Fair enough. A lot of questions coming in on Western Kentucky UAB. D. Mitch, I saw Ron Walsek. I saw from there. I think this line's a little low, guys. Honestly, motivated Western Kentucky, I think, is just a better team. They've got to handle pressure. That's the huge thing against UAB. Can you deal with their perimeter pressure? But it's been bet up a little bit, 1.5 up to 2.5. So I won't officially endorse it, but I'm certainly leaning towards the Hilltoppers, Matthew.
Yeah, me too. Western Kentucky, motivated, shorter favorite or dog. We don't like large favorite Western Kentucky. So same thing applies here.
I think Western Kentucky is the play. I made it closer to 5.
Ooh, tops.
All right, let's go back to the American. Eamon asking about Houston and Tulane. Obviously, Houston, the best team in this conference. It is a bit of a steep spread. I'm not seeing exactly what it's at right now. It's at 18. Yeah, it's rather large. Tulane's been a feisty dog.
Yes.
Ky, anything here for you?
Say again, I was reading Porter Moser calling me out about being a grandfather for saying 18-year-old kids don't get lazy or don't get tired as lazy. All right.
Ky, you're so out of touch. You're out of touch with the kids these days,
I was distracted by that comment. I was like, I don't know what that means. Sorry, Jim. What was the
I'll take
Houston.
it, Jim.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm open. Dish it to
Houston. Okay.
Tulane, great at controlling tempo.
I gotta stay focused.
I think they can, it's not going to be a fun bet if you're taking Houston. It's a big spread to cover given how long it's going to take to get over that hurdle. But I think with the rest advantage, there's no way I'm going to go against the Cougars here. So the hardest of stayaways.
Hey, it's Tulane, man. They keep covering his dogs. I won't count Ron Hunter out.
Yeah, I kind of lean Tulane's way. Just even if they get down 25, there's going to be a little fight in them to make a run into the back door. So we'll lean that way. Let's keep trucking down here. Don the Don asked about my Alabama Tide, wondering what I think here.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a little high. Alabama's offense has not been very sharp lately. Mississippi State, kind of a one-dimensional offense with their 2 scores. I guess two-dimensional, if you want to look at it that way. And Alabama's defense is pretty solid, but it just feels a little high. I'm not going to officially endorse my Tide or anything or endorse Mississippi State, but I'm wavering on my love for them, unfortunately. Ky, anything there?
No, nothing for me. I'm staying away. I agree. It feels a little bit too high. I hope Alabama gets it done, but Mississippi State can be scrappy.
Yep. Matthew in the SWAC, D. Mitch and J. Man Johnson, surprisingly both asking about Jackson State, Texas Southern. Jackson State went undefeated in the league during the season. Yeah. Texas Southern, very talented team. They came on really strong yesterday after getting down early. What do you see here?
I overanalyzed this matchup this morning, Jim. I basically landed in the under in Jackson State camp. Major coaching advantage. Jackson State with the one-day rest advantage after Texas Southern blew the doors off. Was it Alcorn? Yeah, depleted Alcorn team in the second half yesterday.
Yep.
Last season, these teams played twice, and Texas Southern dominated the offensive glass, which is a little bit surprising to me, but I think that changes this year. I think Wayne Brent makes adjustments, does those junk zones he likes, and Texas Southern is an atrocious shooting team. Both teams are, for that matter, but I think that really gets exposed today against JSU.
Yeah, kind of a tradition in that league. Bad shooting. Let's do two more in the Big Ten, and then we'll hit the rest at the end. I know there are a lot of questions still out there. Kyle, start with you. Kyle O, Mark Nick, both asking about Michigan, Maryland, the early tip in the Big Ten. Yep. Can the Terps hang around? We don't know what Eli Brooks' status is, whether it's worth it to even play him. What do you think?
I think they can hang around. Yeah, 8.5 points. I think they can stay relatively close, Jim. Nothing strong, not confident to actually bet them, but I lean towards their way.
Fair enough. Matt, then I'm going to go to you on Wisconsin, Iowa. More injury questions here. Wieskamp, we're not sure what his status will be for Iowa. Again, whether it's worth it for him to try and force a performance in this one when they should be focused on the big dance instead. This won't impact their seed if he doesn't play. So what do you think? Can Wisconsin finally beat somebody that finished ahead of them in the Big Ten standings? It'd be a first time.
I circled it, Jim. I was like, I think this is the game where Wisconsin really plays well. It's a favorable matchup. And I think we were on Wisconsin in the regular season against Iowa, but surprised that the number opened as low as it did. I was expecting to see 6 as the opener. They opened 4.5. I think that's a sharper line. So I tip my caps to the odds makers, and I will find value elsewhere.
Yeah.
I was surprised that too, Matt.
Wisconsin gave them a real fight on the final day of the regular season. Iowa senior night, it was tied with under a minute left, and there was that kind of phantom call on Trice. So that was at least promising to see Wisconsin do that. They shot the ball really well yesterday, but almost collapsed. Basically, it almost handed Penn State the game down the stretch. It was wild. All right, let's get back to the outline, Matthew. I will save up some more chat mob questions for later.
Let's do it. We're heading out west, Jim, to your turf, the wild WAC. 2 semifinal showdowns today here. We're going to talk about Grand Canyon versus Seattle. I watched most of that Seattle game yesterday. They played one of my favorite teams, my darlings, Cal Baptist, and just eviscerated them offensively. Darian Trammell, for those that don't know who he is, he's like the up-and-coming star of the West Coast right now. He is like Loren Christian Jackson on steroids because he actually plays defense. He's not quite to that level offensively, but I think he has that trajectory. He does whatever he wants to, Kai. So if GCU has a chance or they have to corral him, but GCU has mega size up front, so definitely a little chess match stylistically here.
Yeah, that's what they did in game 2, Matt. They pounded the Red Hawks, inside, shot 27 free throws. Game 1, Seattle forced 19 turnovers, really more control that game. Kind of scared them, I think. Grand Canyon got to start doing what they do best, just going inside against this smaller front court that Seattle has. Jim, Seattle's been really good lately, honestly. It's a biggish spread for a tournament game. And having said that advantage, Matt, with Grand Canyon inside, I actually lean towards Seattle.
Yeah, I kind of lean Seattle too. Grand Canyon's been their benefit has been they wear teams down. They're 5-1 against the spread in second legs of back-to-backs in WAC play. That happened against Seattle. They lost the first one, but then won by 10 in the second. They out-rebounded Seattle in the second game, 42-21. Just doubled them up on the glass. That's the issue. Can Seattle compete inside on the glass? I think they can enough. They are playing a back-to-back, whereas Grand Canyon has been off. So maybe you get a little bit of that dynamic, but I lean towards Seattle as well here, Matthew.
I do too. On one hand, it's like maybe could argue the odds makers are overreacting a little bit to the dominant performance yesterday. I do think this line's a little bit low, but I'm kind of buying into what I'm seeing with Seattle. I think Trammell is such a special player that it's just he basically renders any type of game plan against him moot because he's so quick. He can get into seams of the defense. Jim, I'm with you. I lean the Red Hawks, but no official play for me. All right, back to the Midwest here for the MAC, the Mid-American Conference. Some fun offenses are squaring off here in the semifinals. We're going to talk about Ohio versus Toledo. Toledo, the best of those prolific offenses. Ohio right up there as well with their own Maestro and Jason Preston. Points for days. Both these totals in the MAC, I think, opened over 150 here, Jim. What do you like in this Ohio-Toledo showdown?
Man, I don't know. It's tough to say here. I think both these teams I really enjoy watching, aesthetically pleasing. Ohio, maybe the more well-rounded, more balanced team, but Toledo has a gear offensively that not a lot of teams can get to. If they get hot from outside, Littleson wasn't really that hot from the perimeter yesterday, and Toledo struggled. They almost blew that game down the stretch. But I don't know, given the points with a 3-point spread, I would probably lean towards Ohio. I think this feels like a coin flip on a neutral court. But, man, I just don't love fading Toledo because every once in a while they'll throw that 12-0 run on you, and you're like, oh, yeah, they're phenomenal offensively.
Two teams sort of trending in, we'll say not opposite directions. Toledo hasn't been going down necessarily. It's been a little bit shaky. Nearly lost to Ball State, lost to Central Michigan a couple of games ago. Yeah. And Ohio's been on fire, Matt. They've won 7 of 8. They beat Kent State by 18. I mean, they're missing Mike Nuga, obviously. Danny Pippen was out for that game, too.
And Danny Pippen, too,
I believe.
Yeah.
So caveat a little bit there. I think Toledo, though, is a tough matchup for Ohio. They don't turn the ball over. They obviously shoot a ton of threes. And no Jason Press in that first game, by the way, that Toledo won by 17. So don't factor that one in too much to your handicapping here. I do sort of lean Toledo just from the matchup angle, Matt, but Ohio is the hotter team. I wouldn't fault anyone for taking them +3.
Yeah, I ignored my number on Toledo last game. I probably should have been on Ball State. Granted, Ball State was in fuego, and Toledo was uncharacteristically cold. So definitely a little bit of a situational asterisk there. I should be on Ohio today based on my number, but kind of the matchup concerns you just mentioned are valid. Hence, I am staying away. All right, last game here on the island before we get to best bets, picks, and one last round of chat mob questions. Conference USA. Let's get patriotic down at the Frisco Disco, baby. Our favorite conference tournament setup, which resembles an odd AAU tournament. Anyway, big matchup here. Louisiana Tech versus North Texas. We have a best bet spoiler in the mix, so I'm going to go to Ky. Ky, what are you looking at in this game here?
Man, I made North Texas a slight favorite. Louisiana Tech's favored by like 1-ish, and they've been awesome lately. I didn't realize just how many games they've won since January. It's 13-2 since January 9th, won 10 of 11. This series did split during the season. Ugly, low possession games. It's not going to be fun watching this game. So if you have something better to do, feel free to do that. Jim, I just think Louisiana Tech's so difficult to score against. North Texas can go dry for stretches. La Tech has an advantage going to the line. But my number does lean towards North Texas, and I will set you up for your little spike here.
Yep. I'm taking North Texas as best bet. I made them favored all things equal, and that's without Louisiana Tech missing their point guard, Kobe Williams. He is out with a hand injury. I think that's enough of a bump to make me take the mean green here. I'm backing them. Yeah, made them a slight favorite. It's going to be ugly, like you mentioned. If you're feeling totals, under's probably the look here, despite a low number. 127.5 is what I'm looking at. But yeah, I'll take North Texas +1. I think they can negate Kenneth Lofton inside a little bit with Zach Simmons. They've got a body to bang with him. So give me the mean green, Matthew.
Yeah, I like that. They're just, North Texas offense can go through ruts, but I would be especially concerned if they had Williams to guard Hamlet, but they don't. And so I think Hamlet can get free and do what he wants in the half court. North Texas can score efficient enough, and their defense, we all know, is pretty much as certain as death in Texas. So I like that mean green take, Jim. No official play for me. All right, Ky, best bets and the list of your picks today. Go for it.
My only pick today, guys, it's going to be a real stunner here. And yes, the spread's gone even further up. I love it. Mizzou +5.5. Yes, I went to Mizzou. But don't think this is a biased pick. I'm usually anti-biased towards my Tigers and usually think they suck. But +5.5, that's too many points. Jim, I think this game should be closer to a pick. I understand that Arkansas has won 8 straight games. They're objectively awesome right now. They're a walking fireball. But Mizzou just plays so well as a dog, 6-3 as an underdog this season. They play to their competition. This is a quote-unquote rivalry game, if you want to call it that. As a Mizzou alum, I don't really consider that a thing. Maybe they do now. Now they've been out of college for a while, Jim. And my last point, they should have beaten Arkansas already this season without Jeremiah Tillman. That game went to overtime. Tillman's back. I think Mizzou covers 5 points here.
Yeah, Mizzou won the first meeting at Arkansas, so they've been very solid against them. Like you said, very, very good as a dog. I made it 3. I should probably back it with you, but I am the coldest of cold on my non-best bets, so I will not put that stink on your best bet.
Hey, you and me both in the other place.
There you go. My best bet is North Texas +1. That is all I am riding with today. I'm gonna go with the mean green and kick back and enjoy the basketball for the rest of it. Matt, what do you got?
So we talked about Seton Hall, talked about Creighton, a little head-to-head with our guy Ben Sports, who I believe is on UConn. Hasn't quite made that clear, but I think he's on UConn there. And then my best bet here, Ky, Montana State. This one caught me yesterday, fading Southern Utah. I'm going back to that same well again. Southern Utah has been really good. I mean, I could be disrespecting them. I just think they've caught in teams in the right spots, and I just don't think they're as good as the current market has them priced. I made this game closer to 3-4. Danny Sprinkle, good coach, guy I trust in a tournament setting. So I'll take the points there with the dog as my best bet. And then for a last-second, fourth play ad, I'm going to go Rutgers +7.5 against Illinois. think it matches up. It's a pretty good matchup with Miles Johnson inside to check Kofi. Rutgers looked pretty good yesterday against Indiana, who was playing pretty desperate. So I think the Scarlet Knights have some value here.
Interesting. It's surprising me. I kind of leaned the other way myself. With no, they beat Illinois early in the season. Rutgers did, with Ron Harper playing
with Harper
out of his mind. That was back in the December Rutgers. We were like, oh my gosh, is this a top 10 team?
What happened to that version of Ron Harper? Did he just disappear? A lot of those guys have kind of sort of fallen off the map.
Harper in particular has
All-American candidate to
yeah, to where
whatever.
are you? All right, let's go, Jim. Round us up with the last set of questions from the mobsters.
Yep, chat mob is active. They got a lot of questions, so I hope you fellas are ready. Khalil Walker wants to know, Matthew, I got to go to you here because SMU, our ponies, they have been off forever. They're taking on Cincinnati today. I was surprised at the spread. Honestly, I think
was
it's
too
too high. I would lean towards Cincinnati here, but I'm not going against the Pony Express. What do you think?
I made this 2.5, Jim. I should absolutely be on Cincinnati. I just don't like that team. I read the numbers a couple days ago. That's my least profitable team, both on or against this season. The Bearcats. I have no idea about that squad. I don't understand them. They make no sense to me. But the Ponies off COVID shutdown. No, thank you.
Is David Julius going to come back? He left the door open for a return.
He opted back in. Yep.
That would be huge. Obviously, and SMU hasn't played in 100 years. So yeah, Matt, I agree. The spread seems way too high.
Yep. So yeah, Cincinnati or nothing, I think there. Ray Paez wants to know about the other WAC semifinal guys, Utah Valley, New Mexico State. I did back a small conference tournament title future on New Mexico State. I just thought, maybe a team that underperformed this season but is peaking at the right time. They dominated their matchup yesterday.
Yep.
And now they get Utah Valley, our 6-point favorite. Anything for you here, Matthew?
Yeah, I do lean Aggies. I just think the whole regular season was just a wash. You throw it out the window. They had one of the worst COVID obstacle courses of any team in the country. Yeah. Now they're playing at a neutral site venue, and it actually feels like it almost sort of feels homish to them. It's probably more homey than their whatever the hell they played throughout the regular season. So I just think it's a classic buy low team. And Utah Valley has massive size up front. That did bother New Mexico State a little bit in the regular season, but I put that aside. I trust Chris Jans. I like this team. I'm with you. I think that's the right side.
Yep. Riding with New Mexico State. Ky, you get a big showdown, one that was surprisingly not on the outline here. There's just too many good games today.
Yeah.
Light the lamp mentioning Oklahoma State and Baylor.
Yeah.
Man, the Cowboys have really hung around as a dog. I saw something last night, I think on SVP show, that they have gotten 5 top 20 wins in 18 days, which is one of the shortest time spans ever for a team to pull that off. Do you think Oklahoma State hangs around again here, about a plus 9.5 dog?
They've been unbelievable, Jim. I am terrified to fade Oklahoma State. I actually made the spread higher than it is, only slightly, but I will not step in front of the Cowboys here. I think they can keep it within 9. I actually lean towards their way.
Yeah, I almost played Oklahoma State here. I think it's going to be kind of a public underdog to back Cade Cunningham.
Yes.
But
yeah.
Oklahoma State is 11-3 against the spread as an underdog this year. I mean, they just play up to those teams. They're feisty defensively, and Cade makes plays down the stretch. Matthew Miak, only one game today because NC A&T pulled out, but Portman mentioned Morgan State and Coppin State. Big rivalry game here. What do you got?
Battle of Baltimore, baby. Yeah, Morgan State opens at a 4-point favorite. I like Coppin, Jim. I really do. They have the rest advantage. Juan Dixon's boys. We saw how good they were at times throughout the non-conference. Had some injuries that derailed that momentum a little bit in conference play. I think it's a great, you see the best version of that team today, and you get a favorable spot and a favorable price. I definitely like Coppin here.
Yeah, I gotta whip up a write-up on this one. So I'm just taking notes on what you think. I actually lean towards the over. They played some high possession games, and I think both teams have an easy route to score. Morgan State's offensive rebounding and Coppin's free throw shooting. They should live at the line here. Okay. Ky, I'm gonna go back to Matt. Sorry, just because it's a SWAC game. Grambling, Prairie View A&M. This is Matt's darling. What do you got for me here?
Lean Prairie View for sure. Grambling, they went to overtime yesterday against a very depleted Southern team. Could certainly see some wear and tear start to show up here. And Prairie View A&M comes at you with waves of pressure. I mean, that's a team that just can really grind you down, can frustrate you. Even if they're not up big in the first half, I'll be looking at a second half play. I just think Grambling's a great, or just in a bad spot to potentially crack second half here.
All right, we're going to hit rapid fire. I got at least 5 more, so we're going to keep it quick. Ky, Utah State, Colorado State for Portman here. Huge semifinal in the Mountain West.
Gut Utah State, because I think they might win the tournament.
Yeah, they got healthy yesterday too. Brock Miller back. Matthew, another Colorado school. Nick Leloya, curious about about Colorado and USC Pac-12 semifinal.
Rock fight under maybe, although I think the total reflects it. So nothing for me. I just don't have a good feel for either team, honestly.
Yeah, Colorado's kind of taken care of business against USC this year. They are a slight favorite, but I just think it's a tough matchup for USC. So I would lean towards Colorado. Jules Vids, wondering if Florida is worth a play against Tennessee, Ky.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm staying away from this game. I am. I want Tennessee Jim to be better than they actually are. I think. I don't trust them as a favorite.
Yeah. Tennessee's kind of punked them in 3 of the 4 halves they've played this year. There was one half the last game.
Tough matchup for Florida.
Played well. Yep.
Yeah.
Trey Mann emerging though. He could be a star for Florida come March or come March Madness. Matt, Big Sky, you already took one game. How about the other one? Montana and Eastern Washington.
Very impressive win by Montana yesterday. I think they're a great dog, a team that we've been frustrated with all season as a classic underachiever. Eastern Washington shot the lights out most of the season. You could make a case that they're overvalued. So if you just juxtapose those two next to each other, I think the Grizz have a taste of value, but every time I bet on the Grizz, they always just lay an egg offensively. So I can't, I'm too jaded. I'm scarred by that, but I encourage you to bet on Montana.
Yeah, the Grizz shot 70% inside the arc yesterday. That was just an embarrassing performance by Weaver, to be honest. Ky, one more in the MAC. Wonka Dog wants to know Buffalo and Akron. Anything for you here?
I'm a Buffalo guy, but this spread seems a little bit too high. That does rhyme. I lean towards Akron plus 4-ish. I believe it is what it is right now.
Yep. Matchup-wise, I want to back Buffalo. They looked pretty solid yesterday, but Akron, it's just 4 points feels too many. So, All right. I think that is it. We've got, there's maybe a couple other questions, but feel free to tweet at us, folks, at 3MW_CBB. We'll do the best we can at analyzing it there. Matt, I'll let you sign us off. Oh, and don't forget to mention our show schedule for next week.
Yeah. So, folks, we will coming to you same time, Monday through Friday, but
Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday, excuse me. But we will be launching at the same time. We're talking bracketology reactions Monday, first 4 breakdowns on Tuesday, and then round 1 and round 2 Wednesday, Thursday. Sorry, round 1, day 1, Wednesday, round 1, day 2, Thursday. So add that to the calendar as I have in my handy dandy planner right here off screen, which you cannot see right now.
Yeah, we have a little like a 2-day lead time on all those rounds. So we'll be getting the chatter in early.
And obviously tweet at us if you guys want some initial takes on price value. We'll be happy to respond as well. Even I might even respond. My dormant Twitter activity may be reinvigorated here at Ky down the stretch for March Madness. But before we sign off, as always, thank you, Sportsbook Review. Make this all possible. SBRodds.com. Have that open at all times. NFCRpicks.com/NCAAB right above us. Until next week, cheers, folks. Good luck this weekend.